You know, there was a time in our history. There was a time in our history when people were afraid to stand up. You think back to the formation of our country in Boston back in the 1770s, and they actually had to disguise themselves, put on disguises so that they could walk around and meet each other clandestinely. They were willing to risk their lives, Jody. They were willing to send a powerful message about taxation without representation. And I'm proud that we're standing here today, 236 years later, and show our faces to the world and tell the truth about the state of our nation. And I don't have to tell people that we've got some tough times on our hands right now. You don't have to tell that to the millions of Americans that have lost their job. And the fact of the matter is these problems aren't going to fix themselves. But I am at a loss about how Washington can justify the approach that they're taking. You know, if anybody here is starting a business, if you're thinking that you can borrow yourself out of debt, that you can tax yourself to prosperity, or spend yourself to prosperity for that matter, you might ought to consider taking a course in Economics 101. Matter of fact, Ralph, there's some folks in Washington, D.C. ought to take that course. Swear to goodness. Enroll them right now in that course and a refresher in the United States Constitution. I'm concerned. Our liberties would be a whole lot safer if we had those people sitting in a classroom today rather than sitting in the Congress. They're turning our rights over, upside down, one after another. They're making choices that would leave our founding fathers absolutely confounded, scratching their heads. Our founding fathers put limits on the federal government for a reason. They had seen clearly what this dangerous British government was doing to them. What happens when government is allowed to run unchecked. Those limits that are so clearly laid out in the Constitution, unfortunately, aren't slowing down the people in Washington, D.C. today. They are continuing to erode our rights, wasting our tax dollars, burying future generations under a mountain of debts. And it's well past time. I think it's well past time to halt the endless intrusions into our personal lives. Put a stop to this out-of-control spending. Restore our commitment to